Without further ado, let's begin. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm your host for this webinar. My name is Adil and I work at LaunchGood. If you're expecting to hear from me or LaunchGood or Giving Tuesday, you're in the right place. If you're expecting something else, then stay tuned because you might also benefit from some of the things we have to share during this webinar. Now, before I go in to detail or through the slides, I want to welcome you all and just run through a few ground rules. This webinar should only take between 45 to 50 minutes, and we'll be running through all of the key features that we have to offer for next Tuesday, which is Giving Tuesday on LaunchGood. There'll be an opportunity for questions at the end, but if you do have any questions, comments, or thoughts, feel free to use the chat function, and my colleagues who are based all around the world will be able to answer for you, inshallah. And also, if you do join or if you get cut off, rejoin and just let us know who you are, what organization you're from, and also what country you're in. Alhamdulillah, at LaunchGood, we have the privilege of working with organizations, individuals, charities from all across the world, supporting causes all across the world. And of course, we have Giving Tuesday and the number of different features that we run throughout the year to support you to do your best work so you can fundraise for the causes that matter. And, you know, it goes without saying that right now we're in a situation where, you know, the Ummah is in pain. There's a lot happening around the world, especially in Palestine. And so many of you have been working tirelessly over the past month to raise much needed funds for Gaza, for Palestine, for humanitarian needs around the world. And Giving Tuesday and the offers that we have will be a tool to help you continue to do that, inshallah. But you know, you've heard about Giving Tuesday. This might be the first time you've heard of Giving Tuesday. I'm hoping you have heard of LaunchGood before. That's why you might have heard about the invitation or you've used us before. But very, very quickly, LaunchGood is a donation-based crowdfunding platform for the global Muslim community. And I'm pleased to say that we are the largest Muslim crowdfunding platform in the world. And that's not because of us, that's because of you. That's because 1.6 million people around the world, Muslim and of all faiths and none, have used LaunchGood to support causes around the world. And you can see the figures in front of us, 74,000 campaigns in the past 10 years, and you've been able to raise over $500 million. That's no small feat, but $500 million. And we've been the facilitator, the platform, the middleman, whatever you want to call it, to allow you to do that, connecting our generous ummah with our fantastic change makers and campaign creators. Now, if you haven't heard of Giving Tuesday, what is it all about? I'm based in the UK. Some of you might be based in America or Canada or the Middle East. Giving Tuesday is pretty much a continuation of some other famous public holidays you might have heard of, especially if you're based in North America. So this Thursday is known as Thanksgiving, where a lot of people get together with their friends, with their families, and are grateful for what they have. And then on Friday is the very famous and popular Black Friday. That's something that's quite common now here in the UK, where despite being thankful for everything, we want to go out and shop and find the best sales in the high streets or in the malls. And then, of course, we can't forget Cyber Monday, which is intended to promote and incentivize online purchases, e-commerce, Amazon and whatnot. And after spending all of that money, Giving Tuesday is an opportunity to give back to causes that really matter. And it wasn't set up by LaunchGood, but we're a partner for Giving Tuesday. And the idea is to create a global day of charity that follows these holidays in America. And we can generate hundreds of millions and in fact, billions of dollars to change people's lives around the world. So that's the thinking behind Giving Tuesday. And at LaunchGood, it really fits and aligns with our values of connecting the ummah and showcasing how generous we really are. So that's the thinking behind Giving Tuesday. And the rest of this webinar is going to be talking about what we're doing to take part and how you can take advantage of these features, whether you're fundraising for a local soup kitchen or a project or a school, or you're stuck into the international relief side of things, especially when it comes to Palestine and Gaza. There's something for everyone. All right, and this slide just continues to explain what I was talking about. We have a host of incentives and features that I'll run through individually, coupled together with Giving Tuesday, and that equals lots of love and generosity and sadaqah for great causes around the world. And this isn't the first time we've taken part in Giving Tuesday. We do this every year, and it's typically the last Tuesday of November. And this time last year, campaign creators, fundraisers, organizers like yourselves raised over $1 million in one day through LaunchGood. And over 18,000, almost 19,000 people took part as donors and supporters. We had over 300 different fundraising campaigns, all in one day. And this is just a window and insight into the power of this global ummah and the generosity that lies within it. Okay, now here's my favorite part, and here's where I get to talk about the different ways we can incentivize your fundraising efforts. Now, of course, if you fundraised on LaunchGood before, you know all about how to create campaigns and start your fundraisers. If you are a first-time user and this is all new to you, feel free to drop your details in the chat, and one of my fantastic colleagues will reach out to you and get you started. Some of you as well, I know, have taken part in various leaderboard contests throughout Ramadan or Dhul Hijjah, or even previous Giving Tuesdays. But I'm pleased to say that this leaderboard contest that we have next Tuesday is the biggest one yet. In fact, we don't just have one leaderboard contest, we have two. We have a leaderboard for the most raised. So every single campaign on the platform, so long as it's live and able to raise funds, will be eligible to feature on the most raised leaderboard. And we have another leaderboard that runs in parallel for the highest number of supporters. So it doesn't matter how much you raise, what matters is how many different unique individuals come together to support your cause. So it's about the number of supporters rather than the amount raised. And we value both because yes, sadaqah is important and we want to raise as much as possible, but also this ummah cherishes and treasures unity. And it's about getting as many people to take part in this effort as possible. And the great thing is, both of these leaderboards run for 24 hours next Tuesday, starting from midnight Eastern time, which is about 5 a.m. UK time. And it runs for 24 hours. And we have some fantastic prizes that could really go a long way to supporting your causes, whether you're fundraising for Palestine or local cause or anything that's important to you. So if you raise the most amount of money on Giving Tuesday compared to every other campaign on the platform or every other fundraising page, the top prize is a $25,000 donation boost. And that will be added to your campaign over the coming weeks. If you come second, $15,000. Third, $7,500. And that's the same prizes if you feature on the most supporters leaderboard. So it's really important that you understand, okay, what's my reach? What is more realistic? Can I raise $10, $20, $30, $40, $50,000 in a day and be in with a shout of winning our most raised contest? Or, you know, might I have a bigger reach, maybe a community, a school, a masjid, where I can get more people to give, even if I'm not competing on most raised, I have a chance or a shout at winning on the most supporters leaderboard. But guess what? Just by having a live campaign, you're eligible to feature on both. However, by the end of the contest, you'll win a prize based on where you finished highest. So let's say you finish on first place on most raised and third place on most supporters. You'll win $25,000 for the most raised, for coming first there, and you won't win on the second leaderboard where you finish lower. Rather, the next best runner-up will be boosted or upgraded a place. And that means by the end of Giving Tuesday, we have more winners and more funds going to a greater variety of causes. All right, and most of you who have fundraised at LaunchGood before, you're very familiar with this concept because we run it so regularly during Dhul Hijjah and during Ramadan. However, we have two other features that right now are specific only to Giving Tuesday. Outside of the leaderboards for most raised and most supporters that run for the whole 24 hours, we have something called power hours, where within a specific 60 minutes, and we have 3 of them in total spread across the day, we have almost like a mini most raised leaderboard or most raised contest, where if you raise the most amount of funds on your page within that power hour, which starts at the times in front of us, you will receive a boost of $5,000. Now, why do we do this? You know, some of you, mashallah, you're from huge charities that can fundraise for 24 hours straight and even longer. Others, you might want to focus your efforts during a power hour. And then you've got the third group that you'll be fundraising all day long, but the power hours allow you to reinvigorate your audience and your donors and get them to try and give more and give again within these power hours to give you a chance of winning an extra $5,000 to your cause. Now, I did say we have a few throughout the day, and we actually have 3 separate power hours. And the timings might be a little bit confusing, but I'll try and simplify it for you. Our first power hour will take place at 7 p.m. Malaysia time, which works out to be about 11 a.m. GMT if you're in the UK, or 6 a.m. Eastern time if you're in the New York side of America. Our second power hour is at 7 p.m. UK time, that's GMT, which is 2 p.m. Eastern time or 3 a.m. Malaysia time. And our third power hour is at 7 p.m. Eastern time, which is New York, 12 midnight in the UK, and 8 a.m. on the Wednesday morning if you're based in Malaysia. Now, why do we have 3 and why all these different times? Now, mashallah, I said at the beginning of this webinar that we are a global ummah, and LaunchGood is an example of how global this ummah is. We have charities, organizations, and fundraisers, you know, from Canada, America, the Middle East, the UK, Malaysia, Singapore, Japan. And so we want to provide power hours that are tailored to each region, which is why we have one at 7 p.m. in North America, 7 p.m. in the UK, 7 p.m. in the Asia Pacific region or Malaysia. Now, having said that, every single fundraising page is eligible for each of these power hours. We've just set it and spread it in this way so that organizations in one part of the world have a slight advantage, it being their evening time, you know, the post-work time, where we do see an uptick in donations generally through these contests. However, if you're in America, there's nothing stopping you taking part in Power Hour 1, Power Hour 2, Power Hour 3. However, just like with the leaderboards, you can only win on one leaderboard. You can only win one power hour. So if you do come first place in Power Hour 1, you can still take part in the others, but you won't win a second prize for Power Hour 2 or Power Hour 3. I understand that might be a lot to take in, and if you've got any questions, feel free to dump them in the chat. My colleagues can help answer, or we'll have some time at the end of this webinar. So that's the power hours. So a mini most raised contest where we only have one winner in each power hour. And that's from 7 p.m. Malaysian time to 8 p.m. for number 1, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time, GMT, and the final one being 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern time. Okay, and we have one other feature, which in my years at LaunchGood has become my favorite, and that's the wildcard giveaways. Now, a wildcard giveaway is something that every single page on LaunchGood really has a shout of winning or taking part in. And what is it? So every 2 hours throughout Giving Tuesday, you know, if we start at midnight Eastern time, so from 2 a.m., then 4 a.m., then 6 a.m., and so on and so forth, we will be drawing a number of campaigns or one campaign out of a hat every 2 hours. And the campaign that we choose will receive an additional $1,000 to their project, to their campaign, to their cause. Now, how do you become eligible, or how do you get your name or your campaign in that hat? All you need to do is get 50 unique donors or supporters within Giving Tuesday, within that time frame, to be entered into the draw. Now, I mentioned it's every 2 hours, so we have 12 draws in total, which means the first draw takes place 2 hours into the contest. So if you get your unique donors or your supporters, all 50, in the first 2 hours, you'll be eligible for the first draw. You might win. If you don't, you'll still carry over to the second draw, and the third draw, and the fourth draw. So you'll have 12 opportunities to win. However, if you're a bit slow to start, and you get your 50th unique donor towards the end of the night, you'll still be eligible for the next draw, but you've missed out on all the ones that took place before that time. So the real key here isn't just about getting those unique donors, it's about getting them quick as soon as the contest starts, so you're eligible for as many draws as possible. And very similar to the other features, if you've won a wild card, so if your name or if your campaign is picked out of this hat and you win that $1,000 boost, you'll be ineligible for the other draws that take place throughout the day, because we want as many different people and campaigns and organizations to win. So just a quick summary. Make sure you get 50 unique individuals. It can't be me donating 50 times, even if it's with different cards or different emails. Our system, we've been around for a number of years. It filters out all of these things. My donations will still go through. I'll still be charged, but it won't count as a unique supporter or donor. And that's the case whether it's the wild card or the most supporters leaderboard. And of course, if you're taking part in the main leaderboards, you're going for the most raised and you're going for the most supporters, chances are in your journey throughout the day, you'll at some point become eligible for a wildcard as well. And you may even win a power hour if you plan your efforts and fundraising in the right times. Okay. Now, a few more rules that I do want to mention, and it's super, super important, especially when it comes to timing, because we are a global ummah, but we do have to stick to 24 hours. So we'll be beginning at midnight Eastern time on Tuesday, the 28th of November. So that's next week, Tuesday at midnight if you're based in New York. That's 5 a.m. if you're based in the UK. And the contest will run for 24 hours, after which it will end. So it will be midnight, Tuesday night, Wednesday morning if you're based in New York. It will be early hours of Wednesday in the UK, and it will be Wednesday morning if you're in Malaysia or Australia. Another important rule is that first-party donations are not allowed. So what's a first-party donation? Basically, what this means, and this is to do with anti-money laundering rules and legislation, that an organization cannot donate to itself in order to gain an unfair advantage to win one of these prizes. So if I'm from charity A, as an employee, I can donate to that page. I just need to do it from my personal account and with my personal details, my personal funds. But if I'm from charity A, I can't donate charity A's money with the company or the charity credit card to my page to raise the most amount of money, get the prize, go home and, be happy with that, because it is a form of gamification and there are some legislations around that. So if that gets flagged, you may receive a warning, or that donation may not count towards any of the boosts or prizes that we do give. And the third one, which always comes up in conversations that I have with organizations for Giving Tuesday, one campaign can only win one of each of our features. So you can only win on one leaderboard. You can only win one power hour, and you can only win one of the wildcard prizes. However, you can win a leaderboard and a power hour and a wildcard. So if we're good at maths, how much is that in one day? If you came first in either of our leaderboards and one power hour and one wildcard, then your cause will receive a donation boost of $31,000, which is amazing. That's more than most people can raise in a given week, for example, let alone one day, let alone just being a top up and an incentive beyond all of the organic funds that you'll be raising on that day. And whether you're fundraising for emergency relief in Gaza or for your local masjid, these funds can go a long way to generating the impacts that we really need to see, especially now more than ever. All right. So those are the rules and those are the features. I do want to run through 10 top tips based off of the type of coaching and organizations that have won in previous years, not just on Giving Tuesday, but in our Dhul Hijjah competitions and through Ramadan. We've collated the top tips, the top 10 tips to win big on Giving Tuesday, whether you're a large charity or whether this is your first time. But before I do that, I'm just going to summarize everything we've covered so far. So Giving Tuesday, we've got a whole host of different contests and features next week, Tuesday, for 24 hours. That's the leaderboard contests, where you can raise the most amount of funds in a day or get the most number of supporters. And then we have the power hours, which is a most raised contest for 1 hour only. And we have 3 of those spread across the day next Tuesday. And the third one is our wildcards, where you get 50 supporters and you enter a draw, which takes place every 2 hours, to receive a $1,000 boost to your cause and your campaign. All right, so now top tips. So make sure you have your notepads ready. And if you have any questions at all, please drop them on the chat. First one, teamwork makes the dream work. Many of you have heard this phrase before, but it really is true. So many times I speak to organizers, campaign creators, volunteers that say, look, I'm not as big as Islamic Relief or HCI or One Nation. What can I do? What chance do I have to fund my project? And, you know, my response to them is, look at historically, we have smaller grassroots organizations win prizes every single year. But the first thing you need to do is build a team. Get some friends, colleagues, or collaborators to join you. Call maybe 10 or 20 friends and say, look, next Tuesday, I'm fundraising for X or Y cause. Can I count on an hour of your time? Come over to my house, or we'll go to a cafe or a restaurant and we'll work together. Just get those friends together, get that team. Now, once the team are together, make sure everyone donates. So if you've got 20 friends, or let's say 10 friends, like on the screen, they all donate, that's 10 donations. And if each one of those friends gets another 10 people to donate as well, so their mum, their dad, their colleague, their friend, their brother, their sister, then that's 110 donations or supporters that will go to your most supporters, and the funds raised that comes through all of those donations. So it's really important that you split the work between yourselves, and you can make it fun. You know, turn that cafe or turn that living room into a call center. And for you as the organizer, you can focus on the fundraisers, these friends, these volunteers, and motivating them and encouraging them and reminding them of the cause that they're supporting, whether it's Palestine or whether it's something local, rather than just the fundraising itself. Because if you're a one-man team, it can be a much more difficult task to climb that leaderboard, whether it's most raised or most supporters. The second top tip is content is key. Prepare early for Giving Tuesday. You know, there's a reason we're doing this webinar a whole week in advance. It gives you time to create images, posters, and videos that you can share with your network during your fundraising campaign to encourage them to give. Social media posts that feature a video or image gain far more attention than those with text only. So use this to your advantage. And remember, in the age of Reels and TikToks, short and snappy videos work best over long, detailed narratives. It's just important to get the key messages across. Who are you? What are you doing? And why should someone donate today for that cause? The third tip is something called phone trees. And this is what I alluded to when I mentioned about building a team. And it's all about good old-fashioned phone calls. Call centers are successful because we as human beings find it difficult to say no when talking to a real person. If I get a text message or a WhatsApp message, I can choose to reply, I can choose to ignore, or I can choose to delete. But if someone's called me, and outside of work, I don't get very many phone calls. So when I do see a call from a friend or a relative or someone that I know, I likely pick up. And it's so much harder to say no when a contact or a friend or a relative says, "Assalamu alaikum, Adil, hope you're well. Just to let you know, I'm fundraising for X or Y cause, and today we've got a chance to win an extra donation boost to help the work on the ground. Can I count on your support?" It's so hard for me to say no. It's even harder for me to say no in person, but I know in this day and age, it's a lot easier to call 100 people in an hour or 2 hours than it is to meet 100 people, in 24 hours. And of course, research also shows we're more likely to give when asked by someone we know, which puts the onus of the fundraising on the one asking over and above the cause itself. So people will give because their mum asked, because their brother, their friend, their colleague asked, and they'll care about that before they ask about the cause itself. So don't worry if you feel your cause might not get as much attention or traction or focus as others, because there are so many causes around the world. We just need to turn on the news to see that. But it's about the people that are asking. So don't be shy to make that ask. And the next tip, which closely is in line with the phone trees, is your network is your net worth. We probably have hundreds of contacts on our phone list, from friends, colleagues, relatives, long lost relatives, second cousins, third cousins, and anyone in between. It's really important to organize that and leverage the network of your contacts. So go through all the contacts you have, or the spheres of influence, whether it's my masjid, whether it's my workplace, whether it's my company, whether it's my youth group, or the people I play football with, and figure out, okay, in these groups, who are the people that I know can give, and start working through your network. And then also, don't think about just donations. Think of my network. Who can I get a donation from, but who can I ask for their support to share and get their friend or their spouse or their family to donate as well? So that way you can diversify your outreach and go after different audiences beyond your immediate sphere of influence. And of course, the wider the network, the greater the likelihood of receiving donations on that day. We're almost halfway through these top tips. Number 5 is, if you don't ask, you don't get. Now, this is really simple, but I have to remind people every single year. I have the privilege of working with fundraisers who are volunteers or experienced charity workers day in, day out, and you'll be surprised at how difficult this part can be for some people. The fundraiser is only as strong as the ask, whether you're fundraising for an emergency or a community project. So you can't afford to be shy when asking for money, because after all, it's for a great cause. When you're fundraising for a project abroad or something local, you're not pocketing the money yourself. It's not going towards your lunch or your dinner that evening. It's really an invitation for people to give sadaqah, which is good for them, which is good for you, and which is good for the people that you want to benefit with this fund, with these funds. So it's really important that you make that strong ask at the end of every conversation and at the end of every call. And of course, don't be scared of rejection. You're not asking anyone to marry you. You're just asking if they can donate a few pounds or a few dollars towards this cause. So really, don't be shy and don't be scared. You're doing a good thing. And it's one day of the year where thousands and thousands of people are encouraging others to give, to be charitable, to be generous. And trust me, the world needs it. All right. Number 6. Now, this is, again, one of the most neglected acts that take place when it comes to interpersonal fundraising, and that's follow-up game. It's not just about making calls. It's what happens after you put the phone down. You might have called your mum, dad, and said, look, I've got this project, really need your help. Please, can I count on your support? They're like, yeah, sure. What do I need to do? Be like, okay, I'll just send you a link. When you hang up, the following few seconds is when that person, number 1, decides to donate or not, and number 2, actually makes the, does that behavior. They click on your LaunchGood link, they donate a few pounds or whatever they can afford, and then they go. If you delay that action, you might lose them, because we get busy very, very quickly. I don't know about you, but I've got hundreds of WhatsApp groups, so many conversations happening, and my attention is moving from A to B to C super fast. So it's really important that we follow up immediately after these calls. And you can also keep an eye on the donations that are coming through in your page in real time. So you can see, look, I've called X person, they said they're going to give, I've given the link, but I haven't seen theirs come through. Let me drop them a reminder. And again, don't be shy, because it's about encouraging people to give. And there is a big difference. If everybody gives on Tuesday, you have a chance of raising more funds for your cause. If they all give on Wednesday, we don't have donation boosts or prizes to give then. So it's really important that people give, and they give on the day. They give now, so you can get more funds, inshallah, towards your cause or project. Number 7, sharing is caring, or is it? And I'm kind of saying this for all of them now, but again, this is another really common thing. Don't fall into the trap of only sharing your fundraiser or your LaunchGood link on social media. Only share your campaign on your socials after you've worked through your call list or in parallel. It's so easy to think, okay, made my LaunchGood page, I've got my link, I'm going to blast it on my Facebook, Instagram, X, Snapchat, WhatsApp stories, and I'm just going to sit back and watch the donations come in. But it's not that easy, because how many of us get broadcast messages? How many of us just scroll through stories? And how many of us actually click on the links that we see on the stories or we get in our broadcast messages? It's really important that, yes, share, it's great for awareness, but don't rely just on the sharing or the stories or the statuses to bring in the funds. And simply put, you can't replace a good old-fashioned phone call. And like I mentioned earlier, instead of sending broadcast messages, midnight Eastern time, as soon as the day starts, Why don't you spend an hour before Giving Tuesday calling people up and saying, Assalamu alaikum, hope you're well, how's everything going, how's the family? Oh, by the way, next Tuesday, I'm fundraising for this project or this cause. It really means a lot to me, and I'm in with a chance of winning extra funds that can go to the project. Can I count on your support? Most people will say yes. So you've locked them in even before Giving Tuesday begins. So then once Giving Tuesday starts, you can just send them a message or follow-up call. Assalamu alaikum. Remember you said you're going to donate to that project. Here's the link. Please donate now. That is literally a winning formula. It's as simple as that. But if you and your team can spend an hour or two before Giving Tuesday and then an hour or two on Giving Tuesday, you really do give yourself a much better chance at winning these contests and winning these funds over and above just social media and sharing, aimlessly without keeping it personal. And I think that leads to my next point, which is make your ask personal. Like I mentioned before, people will donate because you ask them to. So relate your ask to the person you're speaking to. So it doesn't feel like every other charity fundraiser. Chances are I'm going to receive, 3, 4, 5, maybe 10 different links on that day. And if they're all copied and pasted, or if I can see that little, sent many times or broadcast icon, it might not mean much to me. But if someone mentioned my name, Assalamu alaikum Adil, how's the family? What have you been up to? How was this? Or responds, to a message that I've sent them and then brings up the ask, it's much more likely that I'm going to engage. And of course, you can make it even easier by creating a short link. What is a short link? Right now, when you create a LaunchGood page, you'll have a long URL, which is something like www.launchgood.com/campaigns/blah, blah, blah. Now you can make that even shorter by going to edit and then enhance. You can create your own link, which is just launchgood.com/whatever you want it to be. If it's available, you can save that, copy that, and share that on your messages and on your emails. It's much easier on the eye. Looks a lot better than sharing the full URL. All right. That brings us to tip number 9. And this is really important, especially for those of you that have fundraised before, especially on LaunchGood. That's to reactivate your old donors. Now, if you're one of the many organizations that have been raising funds for Palestine for the past 5-6 weeks, you likely have a lot of donors already, 100, 1,000, maybe even more that have given to your page or given to a similar page. So it's really important that if you fundraised before, you download the donor data that you can access through the donor reports that are provided on the back end. You'll receive the data of everyone that's consented based on your region and the laws applicable in that region. And then you can contact them directly via a mail shot or whatever you normally use to regularly communicate feedback to your donors and let them know that, hey, it's Giving Tuesday now. You supported this Gaza campaign, for example, and we've done this much with the support that we've received so far. We've provided X amount of food. Today, we're raising another $100,000 to do X, Y, Z. Please, can we count on your support again? Today, your donation could be much larger than the amount that you give through these boosts and through these prizes that come through LaunchGood's generous donor community. That's one way. Or if you don't have your own donor database or your own CRM, you can simply go to your old campaigns and use the Update Donors button, which is right next to the offline button on the top right. Click Update Donors and send them a message. Let them know about what's happened to that campaign that they've supported, what work you've done, and then direct them to the Giving Tuesday campaign. It's a really easy way to reach out to your old donors who already know about you, who have already supported you. So likelihood is they've already bought into the work that you do and they trust your delivery. So it's just about getting them to give again, whatever they can afford. So it's really important you do this to reactivate your old donors so you're not reinventing the wheel every single time. And the final tip I'll be sharing today is to keep an eye on the leaderboards. It's really important that you follow our social posts, whether it's on Twitter or on Instagram, which is, LaunchGood or @LaunchGood, and keep an eye on the leaderboard throughout the day to monitor your progress. We'll be announcing the winners of the power hours, the wild cards, and you'll see the leaderboard live for most raised and most supporters, all at launchgood.com/GivingTuesday. And share those updates with your donors, with your audience, with your friends and family. That will encourage them, inshallah, to take part and to continue to support you, so more of those funds and more of the donation boosts can go to these causes that matter so much. So I've been speaking for a good half an hour, and I think this is the chance where I get to share a little bit more about one of our winners from last year. Now, I don't know if One Nation are on this call, but I'm going to be picking on them. Last year, One Nation took part in Giving Tuesday, and this was for winter aid in Syria. And in fact, they won the most fundraised, the most raised leaderboard. They came first place by raising over $100,000 or just over $115,000 in one day, and they had 2,500 supporters. Now, if they're here on this call, they can share some advice and comments in the chat box, but this is an example of what all of you can do. It takes planning, it takes some effort, but the more you plan now ahead of Giving Tuesday, the more successful your Giving Tuesday fundraiser can be. And how many of us would have ever thought that in one day you can raise over 100,000, or even if you're a smaller charity, over 10,000. But we see it year in, year out, competition in, competition out. Organizations, big and small, raising more money than they thought possible through these features, through these competitions. And that's why we do this. That's why, our LaunchGood team puts so much effort in putting this together for you. So ultimately, more money can go to the places that's needed most to help people around the world. So well done to One Nation, and I look forward to seeing what they do next week for this Giving Tuesday. So I am going to pause here and open it up to any questions. I've got some of my colleagues with me in the room that can shout out any questions that have come through them on the chat, or if you feel comfortable, feel free to come off mute and ask any questions that you might have. And just before we do that, I'll do a quick recap. So like I said before, Giving Tuesday starts next week, Tuesday, from midnight Eastern time, which is New York time, 5 a.m. UK time, if you're based in London or in the UK. And it will run for 24 hours. Now, one of our features are the leaderboards, where we have a leaderboard for most raised, which is the most amount of funds raised on that day. It doesn't matter how much has come in already or how much comes in after Giving Tuesday. It's just about how much is raised on that day. And we've got a leaderboard for that. We've got a parallel leaderboard for the most supporters. So that's the number of unique individuals, different people supporting that page in that day. And there are ways, and there's safeguards in the system to filter out repeat donations. So donations will go through and people will be charged, but we'll be checking that it is unique individual people. And ultimately, these contests and competitions are all in good faith to allow each other to compete for good. And so that runs through the whole 24 hours. And the top prize for either of those leaderboards is $25,000. And everybody in the top 10 of both of those will receive a prize. So if you come second, $15,000. If you come third, $10,000, so on and so forth, right through to 10th place, which is a $500 donation boost. That's one feature. Separate to that, we have our power hours. There are 3 power hours dotted around throughout the day: 7 p.m. Malaysia time, 7 p.m. UK time, 7 p.m. New York time. Anyone can take part in any power hour, and this just tracks or measures who raises the most in that hour. So if it starts at 7 p.m., whatever time zone, it will run until 8 p.m. of that time zone. And whoever's raised the most, whichever page, will receive an extra $5,000. And you can only win one of those. So if you've won the first power hour, you won't be eligible to win a prize for the second or the third. And the final feature are our wild cards. And this is something everybody should be able to do. Everybody on this call knows 50 people. We've probably got 5 or 6 people in our family. Then another 5 or 6 cousins or uncles and aunties that we know can give. Then another 5 or 6 people in our friendship group. Another 5 or 6 people at work, and so on and so forth. We can all get at least 50 supporters each. And of course, we need to donate ourselves. And if you get 50 supporters, by any of our wildcard draws, which take place every 2 hours from 2 a.m. Eastern time, all the way throughout the day. So we have 12 in total. At each of these draws, we will collect all of the campaigns that have got at least 50 unique supporters in that day. And then we'll pick at random, we'll have a random number generator, pick one of these out, and they'll receive a $1,000 donation boost to their page. And then once you've won a wildcard, you won't be eligible to win a wildcard again, because we want as many different people to win throughout Giving Tuesday, inshallah. So with that summary, I will open it up to any questions. If any of my colleagues want to share them or shout out, or if someone would like to go off mute, that's absolutely fine.
It is on a campaign level, so the same organization can have multiple winners.
Yeah. Great question, great point from one of my colleagues. Now, all of these features, all of these contests are at a campaign level. A singular fundraising page is eligible for all of these. Let's say you're a charity and you're an organization that you have 10 different fundraising pages. You know, you might be doing a Snowdon walk or a deployment abroad, and each of your volunteers have their own page. Each of those pages will count as separate entries. So they will all be competing with every other individual page. So these contests are for your individual campaigns or your individual fundraising pages, not team pages or community pages. And, you know, every campaign is eligible for each of these features. So if you've got 5 different pages, technically, you can win 5 leaderboard prizes. You can win 5 wildcards, 5 power hours. It's very rare because it's important that you strategize and you focus your efforts on one page to give yourself the best chance of winning, but it is possible. Do we have any other questions coming through on the chat? Fantastic. And again, this isn't the only chance you'll have to ask questions. If you go to launchgood.com/GivingTuesday, there's a great chat bot that will connect you to our customer support team. Or if you're already in touch with a member of the LaunchGood team, maybe myself or one of my colleagues that are on this chat, feel free to reach out to them through WhatsApp or through email or through a phone call. We can answer. But I'll just give one more opportunity if anyone would like to come off mute if you have any questions.
No, I've got a question. Yes.
Sorry, go ahead.
All right, thank you. So for wildcard giveaways, you said there would we need 50 unique donors within the day, right?
Yeah.
And there will be 12 chances within that day.
Yeah.
So let's say by the 8th hour, I get the 50th donor. For the rest of those 4, I get a chance to then win, essentially.
Yes. So let's say it's taken you 8 hours to get your 50 donors. You'll be at the 8 a.m. Draw, and then any of the draws that take place after that, provided you haven't won them already. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, great. I think there was another question as well. Feel free to come off mute.
Yeah, Adil, I was just asking for you to define organic donations again, just so that CCs are clarified on the fact that it shouldn't include an SRC in their URL.
Great point. So when we run these contests and competitions, we want to make sure that it's a fair and even playing field for everyone. And so that means that the only donations that count are what we call organic donations. So donations that come through your short link that you create under edit or edit and then enhance, or your URL, provided there is no LaunchGood tracking extension on your URL. What do I mean by that? For example, some of you may have taken part or purchased a LaunchGood marketing package where we, our marketing team, promote your page on the homepage or through a mailer or anywhere throughout the website. Now, donations that come through the marketing packages won't count or be eligible for these contests. The only donations that count are the ones that you get manually through your own efforts. So everyone has an even playing field. It doesn't matter whether you have a marketing package or not. So it's really important that you share your short link ideally, or if you do share the URL, that there is no SRC equals LG, XXX, which is basically a tracking link that shows LG sources or LaunchGood sources, such as the homepage or a marketing package feature or a newsletter, something like that. If you're in doubt, Before you start sharing your link out, please just let your LaunchGood rep know, look, this is the link and the messages that I want to share. Is that okay? We'll check it out for you. The safest thing to do is to share your short link. But thank you, Naveen, for reminding that. It's a really important point. Do we have any other questions? We probably have time for one more before we close.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
I just wanted to ask, when do you know you win? So does the money come in automatically? Like, how do you know?
Fantastic. Great question. And I love the confidence in that. So inshallah, you will be one of our winners. I hope to see that. Now, when it comes to our wildcards or our power hours, we will be announcing that pretty much straight after we've gone through the results. So the power hours take place 3 times a day. We'll probably announce on social media, but it will be on our launchgood.com/GivingTuesday page. And chances are, if you're in touch with any of the LaunchGood customer success team, we'll let you know as well. That's for the wildcards and the power hours. If you're just taking part in the main leaderboards, or if you're one of those winners, what happens is the contest will run for 24 hours. Then our team will verify the results. So you remember I mentioned before where you can't win on both leaderboards. You'll win the prize where you finished highest, and then you'll be removed from the other one. Then the next best runner-up will get bumped up. We do all of that maths and working out. That will take us to the early hours of the next morning. So on Wednesday, we'll be able to announce the final winners of our leaderboard prizes, the $25,000 top prize. And we'll email you, we'll announce it on Giving Tuesday. And if you're in touch with us, we'll be sure to let you know as well. So within, a day or so, you'll know if you've won a prize and how much towards your cause. And then the next part of the question was, when can you receive the funds? Now, the funds, these prizes are not donations from LaunchGood. It's not coming out of my pocket or the pocket of LaunchGood per se. These are donation boosts that come through our auto donations through our Friday Givers program. So every Friday, we have a portion of funds that donors generously give and allow LaunchGood to choose where this goes. And this is how we award and incentivize these contests. So based on the prize that you've won, you'll receive that prize added to your page in the form of donations on a Friday. Whether it's the first Friday, the second, the third, the fourth, we'll let you know when you can expect that and make sure that your page is open. And then again, if you have any other questions or a request with regards to reporting, we can help you with that as well. All right, so these have been some great questions, and I'm glad you've asked because I didn't cover some of that in the main presentation, but we are coming close to time. So if you aren't already in touch with a member of the LaunchGood team, whether it's myself, someone in my team in the UK, Europe, or the Middle East, or my colleague Naveen, who spoke earlier in North America, or even my colleague Fareed in the Asia Pacific region, that's Malaysia, Singapore, Australia, Japan, you've got our emails in front of you. So if you need support, if you need help, if you want to go into detail about strategy and your messaging and fundraising tips, we want to help you. Just reach out to us and we'll make sure we have a call. It could be a Google Meets or an email or a WhatsApp conversation to make sure you're fully prepared for Giving Tuesday. Don't hesitate to reach out to us. So with that said, that brings us to the end of today's webinar. Inshallah, this webinar recording will be shared. We'll send it out via email, and you can also view it probably by tomorrow on the launchgood.com/GivingTuesday page once we've uploaded it. So do again share this with your friends and contacts who'll be fundraising with you, or any of your colleagues at your charity, or if you know other organizations and charities and people that can benefit, again, share it with them. We want as many people to benefit as possible. So with that said, I have one final thank you, and that is to you for tuning in, whether it's your evening, your morning, or your night. Inshallah, we will be seeing and speaking to you again. We can't wait to see what you do this Giving Tuesday. And ultimately, this is just a means to support the fantastic causes that you're all engaged with. And that doesn't end with Giving Tuesday. There'll be opportunities throughout the winter, the New Year, and Ramadan. And we want to support you every step of the way. So just keep in touch with us. That's all we ask. And inshallah, more good can come to more people around the world. And we'll be one small partner or play a small role in that to allow you to do what you guys do best, and that's to change people's lives for the better.